Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are we all today? Well, today is absolutely glorious. Morning, man. Spiro, our next door neighbour. He's doing the vines, obviously getting ready for when they start to come through. So he's going to be busy doing that. They actually cleared, I just realised the other day, they'd actually cleared the heads of the vines down here as well. Obviously getting ready for the crop. And the word is this: if they're on the ground like these vines are here, they are for wine, all right? And as you can see, there's a lot of wine going to come from there. And those that are on the trestle over here, as you see up above on the top there, the trestle, they're all eaters, all right? So, and trust me, they are gorgeous in the summer when they have some good water and stuff like that, and they taste absolutely divine. So no shortage of grapes, oranges, lemons. We've also got figs as well. You've got to be careful with them, as I've found to my cost in the past. Anyway, let's have a look. Big shout out to Rosewood, who's tuning in. Steve Hinkling up there in Stoke-on-Trent tuning in as well. I'm going to be honest with you. Today's news is not going to be good. It's going to be quite long and quite intensive. There's one of the neighbour's little kiddies running about. Bless. Scaring the children I am. The child catcher is here. Anyway, there you go. That's the weather. It is warm. It is sunny. It is lovely. And it's looking really great. So hopefully we might get a weather forecast from Amanda. Big shout out to Australia. Graham Bint tuning in as well. I understand you're still getting your news blocked on Facebook at the moment. So that's an interesting little aside there. But no, there's been a lot going on really over this weekend. And I'm going to quickly now just go through the news. I'm going to warn you now, it is a lot, all right? And some of it a little bit contradictory as well. But anyway, I'll just kick off as always with looking at the stats for the last 24 hours here in Greece. Right, so at the moment now, it's day 120 of lockdown. And today's date, 6th of March, 2021. And it is a Saturday. Anyway, since yesterday, we've had actually a reduction in infections, which is good. Yesterday, I did report to you 2,702. Today, we have 2,215 new infections. So that number is down. Again, the normal numbers, 15 of those new cases came from outside of the country. That was also down on the previous day where we had 21. As opposed to the national statistics at the moment, 7 new cases were reported on Macardo, 1 on Kefalonia, 6 on Corfu, and 4 cases reported on Zakynthos. But I think that is catch up because locally we've had 2 positive cases of coronavirus reported yesterday. 2 young men went to the hospital with mild symptoms and underwent testing. One of them is 19 years of age, the other is 21. They both confirmed to have had coronavirus. They were sent home to self-isolate, and they were also contacts of people who had already had the virus. So they were local contacts with each other. So once again, we've had 2 cases in the last 24 hours. Anyway, that brings the total at the moment, and this is quite important, these totals. Zakynthos has had 117 positive cases since the beginning of the year. 30 cases were in January, 70 cases were in February, and at the moment we have 19 cases for March. And I'll come on to those figures in one of my later news stories. Anyway, at the moment, deaths are down at the moment across Greece. Yesterday, we had only 32 deaths, whereas the day before there was 35 deaths. So that is down. Again, 96% of those had underlying health conditions or problems or were over the age of 70. And just to put that in context, the average daily death rate in Greece before coronavirus was about 329 cases a day. All right. Now, we've only had 1 death here on the island, and that was in the month of February. And we've not had any since, thank God for that. And that is just for this year, all right? Now, as regards critical cases, these are up at the moment and they are causing concern. Yesterday, we reported there were 449 critical cases across Greece. At the moment, we now have 451 critical cases. 308 of those are male, 143 are female. The average age of those people is 68 years of age, and 86% of those have underlying health conditions or are over the age of 70. Right, now, this is where the news becomes interesting. The president of the infectious committee of Zakynthos Hospital, Dr. Anthios Marcou, spoke about the developments of March in regards to coronavirus. Now, according to the statistics, he said that February was obviously the worst month, as I've already explained to you, in the terms of the number of cases. But he also said that the hospital in January had 7 people admitted, all right, to the coronavirus clinic. Now, the coronavirus clinic, for people who are not quite sure what that is, that's like a separate ward where people go in there for observation, may spend their whole 14 days in there, depending on their physical state and everything else. And then you have a separate entity to that, which is the ICU beds as well. So just put that into context. Anyway, the hospital in January had 7 people admitted to the corona clinic, while in February, the hospital had 13 people admitted to the corona clinic, of which 3 of those had to undergo into the ICU, where they were then obviously incubated. 1 person also died at that point in the coronavirus clinic, and that was the 70-year-old woman. But the man at the hospital now is worried that with the figures the way they are in March, and he sort of doing the maths on it, saying that so far we've had 19 cases, and if we continue at this rate of, say, 4 cases a day on average, we could exceed 120 people actually putting a demand on the hospital. And obviously the hospital doesn't have the bed capacity for 120 people. And in fact, most people anyway are showing mild symptoms and are going back to self-isolate. Anyway, another appointment that the doctor made since the beginning of the pandemic is that he's seeing a lot more younger children getting sick. And on that subject, Mr. Marcou said another element is the age extension of the coronavirus, as it appears that younger ages are more susceptible now. He said until 2 months ago, we had seen cases of 60, 70, 80-year-olds. And now we are seeing 40, 50 and 60. In addition, we're also seeing the appearance of the virus in childhood or children. In Zakynthos, we've taken measures to close schools. We at the hospital also examine the patient's viral load. Children have a low viral load. Now, the doctor also commented in the wake of the whole of Greece experiencing a rapid deterioration of the epidemiology situation due to the strains of the coronavirus, especially the so-called Kent variant, which is now proving to be 50% more infectious than the previous strain. So it looks like at the moment we are now seeing this Kent variety now making its way to Greece. As it being on Zakynthos yet, there's been no confirmation of that, but it's definitely been making its way through Greece. The worst expected areas, and 90% of cases that have had the Kent virus is in the Attica region, which is up in the obviously the Athens area and around there. He said the situation is at worst with almost all the ICU beds there now being occupied. Anyway, interestingly, Nikos Hadrialis, he's the security minister, he spoke yesterday at a briefing saying that until the majority of the population is vaccinated, we must all pay attention. But we are not done with the virus yet, he said. The deputy minister continued emphasising that we must be as sparing as possible in our movement. He says Greek authorities and health experts are looking at this weekend as an important test of public compliance with stricter coronavirus containment measures. Basically, they're still worried that this weekend, as you know, Carnival in Patra, Carnival here in Zakynthos, celebrations for Carnival, etc. They're really making sure that people stay in their homes and do as they're told, because at the moment People are really, really getting pissed off. We've been over a year now, nearly. We've been 120 days in lockdown, but we've had the virus for a year, and people have been locked down at least 3 times in that time. And this last period of lockdown, 120 days since before November, people have just had enough. Anyway, what is he expecting to see in the Greek capital at the moment over this weekend? Well, he's expecting to see less traffic on the streets, smaller crowds in public areas where they're allowed, like parks and on the waterfront, and concerns that spring-like weather may encourage people to abuse the system. Anyway, starting this weekend, he said, residents of Athens and the northern port city of Thessaloniki will have an additional hour to go to the supermarket for a walk after the government's decision to reduce the curfew there on Saturdays and Sundays from 7 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. till 5 a.m., which they had initially said that they were going to do. The SMS system for getting permission to leave home will also be tested over the weekend, following stricter terms introduced this week, such as a 2-kilometre limit on outings for food shopping. Now, we had confusion over this here. The ruling is this 2 kilometres is really only for built up areas. If you lived in Athens and you wanted to go shopping and there's a supermarket across the road from you, you would be expected to go shopping in the supermarket across the road from you, not drive 2.5 kilometres to the nearest Big Lidl and go and do your shopping there. However, for the islands like we are still allowed to move further than 2 kilometres to go and do our shop. So that has been kind of, shall we say, cleaned up, and people made more aware of this restriction that's been put in place. Now, again, for people leaving home and for exercising, this is in force at the moment. As we said earlier on, you're not allowed to leave your home with your car to go exercise, drive to the beach, go for a walk along the beach, and then drive back again. You are not allowed to do that. If you want to go and exercise, you either do it on foot or you do it on your bicycle. And you must be close to where your home is when you're actually doing that. Now, the codes corresponding to the 2 categories of 2 and 6, they said that they were subject to greater abuse. Number 2 is obviously the shopping one, which we've just discussed. And number 6 is the exercise one as well. So now the other interesting area is code number 4, which is helping a friend. And I know this one is going to cause some grief to a lot of people. Checks are being intensified. We're seeing this across the board. I must be honest, I've not seen anything in the local social media to say that there was any form of civil disobedience by anybody during the first part of Zakynthos and what would have been the beginning of what would be our carnival season. There's been no reports of any, shall we say, cheekiness or any kind of breaking of any of the rules that's been set out. But there will be an intensified check on number 4, which is leaving your home to go and help a friend. Now, they are talking about people having to provide some form of documentation. If you get stopped by the police, say you're going to visit your grandma or your grandfather, you're going to bring them stuff, you're going to help them out. You've got to prove that you're going to do that somehow, either with carrying the supplies in the car, explain very carefully where they live. You may even have to phone them up and say, we're just checking to make sure, because the police are going to be really hot on this. The government are intent to basically keep everybody locked down for a bit longer. And I'll come on to further stuff on that later. So once again, just be aware that number 4 is one of those codes where they feel that there might be abuse of that code number with people moving around on the island or moving around anywhere else in Greece at the moment without a valid reason for doing it. Also, as well, interestingly, in addition, weddings are finally now being allowed. Now, the interesting thing about if you're having a wedding at the moment is that you're only allowed to have up to 9 people at a wedding. All right. But this also, get this includes the religious staff, i.e. the priest who's going to do the blessing. It also will include the political official that is there to sign the register to say that you've now got married, as well as any necessary support staff. So I don't see many weddings taking place at this time, unless they're just going to be a civil union in the local, municipality building. I don't see any big weddings coming off at the moment. But anyway, they're only allowed 9 people, and that includes the priest, the man to sign the register, and any other necessary support staff. What they mean by that is probably the photographer, the wedding coordinator, and all of that. So, and I think the bride and groom might be in there somewhere as well, just for some little light brevity on that. Now, all this fuss about locking down and closing down and younger people now being susceptible to the virus. It's interesting that I found this yesterday, a study by the University of Athens that they done on nearly 5,000 faculty and student members, and found that 50% of those had antibodies already in their bodies against the virus, and had not shown any symptoms and did not even know that they were carriers. Anyway, published recently in the vaccine journals, the study contained the results of testing of nearly 5,000 volunteers aged between 18 to 82 years of age, of which 34.5% of them were men, from June to November 2020. Now, they found that 1.6% of the participants had been infected with SARS-CoV-19 virus at some point. However, 49% of them also had reported they had no symptoms whatsoever, such as low persistent fever. Some of them said they had muscle pain, fatigue, loss of taste and smell, or a cough, while roughly a third had no idea how they could have become infected. Anyway, another interesting finding is that the level of antibodies was similar between the infected volunteers and I've lost my mouse now, and that they did show symptoms, and those that did not, irrespective of their age and gender. Anyway, the high percentage of unsuspected asymptomatic active cases, which may contribute to community transmission for more days than that of the cases who are aware and self-isolated, underscores the necessity for measures across the population for the efficient control of the pandemic. That's what the study's author noted. Unsurprisingly, the volunteers with the highest rate of antibodies came from the school's health sciences, whose students and faculty work at the coronavirus referral hospitals run by the Athens University. Now, interestingly, I think this is what the plan is at the moment, is that everything has been hyped up over this weekend and for the next a week or so, up until the 15th of March. As of the 15th of March, they're going to look again, because I think the lockdown may finish maybe around about the 19th of March. One, to bring it in line with basically the beginning of Lent and the build up towards Easter. But the other thing is as well, there's still this parade that Mitsotakis wants to have on the 24th of March, okay, in Athens, where he wants to basically show off military hardware, celebrate the 200 years of modern Greece and the war against the Ottoman Empire, which resulted in Greece's independence. Obviously, with his big guests, hopefully Prince Charles may turn up, although I think that might be in abeyance at the moment, considering the condition that the Duke of Edinburgh is in at the moment in hospital. And we wish him all the best and hope that he gets well. But also the fact that the French Prime Minister has said now he definitely wants to come. There's no two ways about it. And also that the Russians decided they weren't going to come, which for obvious reasons. Why would you invite them in the first place, despite everything that's gone on? But I think Mitsotakis still wants this parade on the 24th. So this is me saying this now. This is what I feel is what we're working up towards. So it'll be very interesting. Now, the other thing as well is, well, now most of you be watching, worrying about what's going to happen about my holiday and everything else. But it was interesting yesterday that Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, announced announced that EU member states on Friday that vaccination certificates called digital green certificates would likely be adopted across Europe on March the 17th. Anyway, just in time for the parade, eh? Once made available, members of the European Union will be given the option to opt into the certificate, but von der Leyen has stressed that in order to be effective, all member states would have to be on board. Now, in her announcement, von der Leyen referred to Greece, obviously, and Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis' suggestion of a Europe-wide vaccination passport. Now, during a virtual meeting on February the 24th, she stressed that the certificate's potential to facilitate free movement of persons within the European Union. Anyway, vaccine certificates will also be included in COVID-19 test results, she said. Now, the certificates would operate at an EU-wide level and will include essential information about a person's COVID-19 status. Von der Leyen also wrote particularly whether the person has been fully vaccinated, if they have tested negative for the virus, or have recovered from COVID in the past. Anyway, von der Leyen stressed that in order for the certificate to be effective within the next 3 months, across the bloc, all EU member states should begin the process of organising national data regarding vaccines and coronavirus test results. Now, additionally, the EU's 27 countries would have to have the necessary technology to analyse the certificate's QR code, which will be available digitally on smartphones or on sheets of paper. Anyway, countries across the EU have proposed the certificates be used for free travel without coronavirus restrictions, such as quarantine for travellers who have been vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, those who have not yet been vaccinated will also be able to travel will have to follow strict antivirus measures such as mandatory quarantine. So again, people are being pushed towards having this certificate and also obviously having the vaccine as well. Others have suggested that certificates could be used for admission to enclosed spaces such as movie theatres and indoor restaurants. So in other words, this is a kind of apartheid now. If you haven't got the pass, you can't come into a restaurant, you can't go to a theatre, you can't go to a cinema. And if you want a free life, you're going to have the vaccine and you're going to have to comply. And your freedom of choice is being narrowed and your freedom of movement is also being narrowed down as well. Now, interestingly, Greece, Cyprus and Spain view the vaccine passport as key for tourism. European countries whose economies are dependent on tourism, such as Greece, Spain and Cyprus, have lauded the move, viewing it as a way for the sector to bounce back this summer while keeping their citizens safe. Now, these Mediterranean countries have already indicated that they are ready to implement the certificate when it is made available. Now, as you already know, Greece has already started issuing a digital vaccination certificate in February for citizens who have received both doses of the coronavirus shot. Anyway, the certificate features the vaccinated person's data, including which shot they received against COVID-19 and when they completed both doses, along with a unique QR code. Anyway, other EU member states, such as France and Germany, have expressed doubts about the vaccination passport, arguing that it could be used to discriminate those who access the shot or who are unable safely to receive it due to health problems. There are some people who cannot have the vaccine because medically it isn't good for them. Anyway, responding to doubts about the certificates, von der Leyen stressed that certificates should not be discriminatory against those who are unable to receive the vaccine due to their health conditions, asserting that the inclusion of negative test results on certificates will allow members of the groups to travel. So there you go. It looks like we are on the way to basically having these certificates come, whether you want them or not. whether you want the vaccine or not. And people are having now to really start make decisions as to whether they want to have the vaccine, if they want to have a life. And I know some people are very upset. I've spoken to people who, for family reasons, because of parents that they want to see, to give assistance for, they're being coerced into having the vaccine because otherwise they are not allowed to see them. And already care homes at the moment in England are allowing visitors, but only visitors that are tested, nominated. If they have the vaccine, it's a bonus. And again, they're having to pay for the vaccination tests, so not the vaccination test, to have the COVID tests. So again, more expense being landed on people when in effect this should be a free service. But again, we'll keep an eye on this. And again, just to go back to vaccinations at the moment, again, this is regarding Zakynthos at the moment. News yesterday again from the hospital. On March the 16th, the second vaccination line will start at the hospital, and it will be their AstraZeneca vaccines are going to be coming into the location, along with the Pfizer one as well. And this is going to be happening supposedly from the 16th of March. And again, the hospital is going to be running two lines. One line for those people from 60 to 64, and then another line for those people of older age who will require the vaccine. It seems that the local MP here has been on to the health minister, and at the moment they're just waiting for the arrival of these vaccines to arrive. Now, according to this, Zakynthos, from March the 4th, a total of 3,800 vaccinations were performed in Zakynthos, of which 1,733 concerned the first dose and 1,275 were the second dose. And at the moment, speaking on Hermes, the MP for the island reiterated that the reason for the delay in the arrival of vaccines to the island was none other than that the existence of inefficient quantity of supplies in Greece. So anyway, we're going to keep an eye on that. Once again, just to remind you that the vaccination platform is open. You can go to your local pharmacy. We've been speaking to people here who've gone and made their appointments, and they're just waiting to basically get the date. Some people have been given dates, I know that. I'm not going to say anything about those dates, but people have been given dates ready for the inspection to be given. Right, I'm going to quickly have a look at those people, comments of those people that are tuning in. Nice to see you've stuck with me. It has been a rather long-winded news, and I must admit, at the moment, just to reiterate to people here on the island, the police are out looking to do people at the moment. Make sure you've got your mask. Make sure you've got a valid reason for moving around if you have to move around. They want you in your homes over this next 2-week period. They don't want you going out and celebrating and having a good time, as we all would normally be doing at this time. And it does make things really, really hard for people. And considering we've just done 120 days so far in lockdown, and if you've been following the rules, like I know some people really have been following the rules, an air of frustration now is really starting to come in to just daily living and just doing stuff, and also the vagaries of certain things that have not been cleared up and made completely clear as to what you want us to do. And then on the other token, you see that 1% at the top off doing their own thing. Talking about the MP yesterday in Athens got done for being in a hotel lobby. All right. Then we've got the Prime Minister himself not exactly leading by example as well, with his little shenanigans that are going on. And you think, why is it all worth it? And at the end of the day, who's going to end up paying? Well, it's the taxpayers going to end up paying for the mess in the first place. But anyway, that's me having a gripe. Let's have a quick look at what people are saying. Nice to see Rosewood here, still tuning in. Steve Hinklin as well. He says, Gallimera, it looks lovely there this morning too. Thank you. It is lovely. The weather today is absolutely glorious. Ian Booth is there watching. Nice to have you tuning in. Also, Graham Bint over there in Australia. Check out Graham's website and check out Graham's Facebook page. He's written a couple of books on PTSD, absolutely interesting guy, ex-RAF Reg buddy. Go check him out. You might learn something, or you just might be interested in a few of the subjects that he discusses. Linda and Gary are tuning in from Essex. Thank you for your tunes yesterday. I had a great show yesterday evening, plus the live show from here. Thank you to all those people that tuned in. We had a few little glitchy problems just trying to keep track of everybody in the chat rooms. It was quite busy, but also the Dance Anthem show. The reception to that show yesterday was absolutely awesome. The Dance Anthem show was all carnival music, and it just went down an absolute storm. And also thank you to the person who reshared my Northern Soul show that I put up on Mixcloud from last week. That got reshared onto another platform yesterday, and I was really chuffed about that, and I was really felt really good about that. So thank you. I think her name was Minty. Thank you, Minty, for resharing that onto another platform. The feedback on that I'm still yet to check on, but thank you anyway. And also don't forget, tomorrow night I've got my Northern Soul show going out at 5 p.m. your time in the UK till 7 o'clock. That show is doing really well. So with me, you go from one extreme of music to the other. And the Northern Soul show, chatting to Ben Warner from Beats Radio, he says, both your shows, mate, there's not a lot in it over which is more successful than the other. Both shows are doing really, really well in their ratings and stuff like that, and also the listenership as well. So once again, thank you for that. Tune in to that as well tomorrow. Amanda Gregory's there. Peter Dyer says, a very good morning, Ginge, and hoping and looking from a cloudy. Sorry, I'll say that again. A very good morning, Ginge, and all looking in from a cold and frosty Milton Keynes. I know what Milton Keynes can be like on the boulevards. They don't have streets; they have boulevards in Milton Keynes. It stood in movies as New York from a few times, but yeah, Milton. I do miss Milton. I used to DJ around Milton Keynes as well. Bless it. Anyway, morning, Ginge. Oh, this is Amanda's weather forecast. Morning, Ginge. Weather today, sunny with some cloud, maybe a rain shower later in the afternoon. Oh, that's interesting. Highs of 17 will feel like 21. Update on the pups, all good, getting stronger, and maybe allowed home on Monday. Thanks to all those well wishers received. Enjoy the sun. Thank you for that. I'm pleased to see the little pups are on the mend, and hopefully they'll be back with you on Monday. Anyway, John Atherton is also tuning in. Nice to see you. Lorna Grant is also tuning in. Also, Amanda again says, morning, Pete. Julie Meldrum is watching. Sid James is tuning in. Don't forget, Sid, Northern Soul Show on Sunday. Tune in. I'll be in the chat room lurking. All right. Julie Meldrum says, have a good weekend. Karen Bush is also tuning in. RAF Red Friend, absolutely fantastic. Christine Brown is tuning in. Alf Livingston is watching. George from the Obelix restaurant is tuning in as well. I hope you stayed with us all the way through, mate. Steve Hodgson from the Northeast is watching. He's your man from the Fire Brigade. Nice to have you tuning in as well. He says, morning, pal. Christine Brown says, love to hear your live news. Thank you for that, Christine. I really appreciate that. Daley Johnson is also tuning in. Not the athlete, all right? Don't get excited, okay? He's tuning in, although Daley is a bit of an athlete. Jim Crossan is watching as well. Mary McMillan, lovely Mary McMillan, worked with my son. Nice to have you tuning in as well, my darling. I hope you are well. I know you've had some tragedies in the last couple of years, but I hope you're doing well, all right, my lovely? Lovely to speak to you. And Michael sends his regards as well. Mark Billingham, the poacher, is in as well. Nice to see you. John Clifford, Mr. Uzo is there. Peter Dyer says, should really say thank you for taking the time to do these news updates daily from the island. Thank you, Pete. It needs to be done. Somebody needs to say about what's going on. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of confusion. Trust me, it's like bloody Reuters in our house during the day. Because we're looking all over at every angle of every story. We're looking at mainstream media, we're looking at independent media, and we're also looking at Greek media as well. And even the way they report news is not always the way that we would report news as English-speaking people. And again, it's understanding how the system here works with law, with the Greek law in regards production of news. There's some rules you've got to follow, otherwise you get a world of hurt. Trust me. Anyway, but thank you for that, and thank you for tuning in as well. Heather Flynn is watching as well. Shane Bowen, nice to see you, Shane. I hope all's well at Exmoor. He says, John Clifford says, tell them chickens to keep quiet. It's your show. Thank you. They become stars in their own right. Anyway, Sean Bowen says, Gallimera from a very sunny Exmoor. I'm pleased it's sunny in Exmoor, and I hope the buzzards are doing well as well. Pete Dyer says, the rowing boat carrying the vaccines is now halfway from Patra to Zakynthos, Ginge. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. It'll probably be picked up as a migrant and put in a first-class hotel. Not here it won't be, but it'll be put into a migrant camp somewhere. There you go. Bless, but we won't go there. Skin Johnson, lovely to see you tuning in, Skin. It's been a while. I hope you're doing okay. Mike Glatney is also tuning in, the diver. Nice to see you. Skin says morning, Ginge. Mike says morning as well. Right, that's it from me. I better go. I've got to do breakfast and also the cat litter trays. You take care. You have a fantastic day. Also as well, I'll keep my ear to the ground. Stay safe. Just be very careful, those people living on the island, where you go, what you do. The police are out and about, and they're just looking to make trouble at the moment because, do you know what? They want to ramp up this kind of hysteria, then to let the pressure off for this parade on the 24th of March. So watch this space. Let's see if this parade on the 24th of March comes off and that all of a sudden we find ourselves out of lockdown by the 19th of March. If he lets us out before the 19th of March, hey, that'll be a bonus. But let's look at the 19th of March as the cut-off day for this lockdown. Let's get Carnival out the way. Let's get Clean Monday out the way and get the way to Lent. The 19th of March. Oh, and my little parade on the 24th. So he can stand there, El Presidente, showing off. Anyway, I'll let you get on. I'll catch you later. I'm just looking at some of the comments. Thank you, and I will catch you later. Ta-ra.